Begin the December 18th, 2012 Falls Township Board of Supervisors meeting. We'll start the meeting as we start every meeting with the salute to the flag, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the roll, please. Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Galloway?
Here.
Mr. Snipes?
Here.
Mr. Hartman?
Here.
Mr. Dent?
Here.
Mr. Rocco?
Here.
Before we begin, I think it's important that we honor the memory of the 27 victims of the shooting in Connecticut on Friday. Certainly, we've unfortunately had shooting incidents before in this country, but I don't think any incident has touched people as much as this one has, for obvious reasons. So we're going to have a moment of silence, please, in their memory. Thank you very much. Okay, before we get to our agenda items, we have a special presentation we'd like to make tonight. Mr. Joe Jones, who is the president of the Frail Souls Athletic Association, let the Board of Supervisors, or made the Board of Supervisors aware that one of the active members of that organization, Mr. Russell Huth, resident of Falls Township, was just returning from a tour of duty in Afghanistan, and he asked a very simple request, which we're more than happy to honor, which was to recognize Mr. Huth and ask him to be here this evening with his family, and also present him with a proclamation on behalf of the township. So I'm going to read the proclamation here, and then we'll come down and present this to Mr. Huth. Whereas the Township of Falls is a second-class township located in the County of Bucks in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and whereas the Board of Supervisors, which is the duly elected governing body of the Township of Falls, recognizes the importance of acknowledging individuals who make valuable contributions to the lives of the citizens of Falls Township, and whereas Mr. Russell Huth of Falls Township has distinguished himself in improving his community and his country through his role as a member of the United States Army serving in Afghanistan, and whereas the Falls Township Board of Supervisors recognizes that the sacrifices made by members of the military are made not just by the service member, but by their families as well. The Board of Supervisors of the Township of Falls, on behalf of the citizens of Falls Township, expresses its sincere admiration and gratitude to Mr. Russell Huth and his family for their sacrifice, and does hereby issue this proclamation honoring Mr. Huth for his commitment to the defense of the United States of America, and for doing so without expectation of any reward or recognition other than the knowledge that his actions were the right thing to do. Proclaimed this 18th day of December 2012 by the Falls Township Board of Supervisors. Joan?
You guys want to move away from us? Yeah, you don't want us in the picture.
Yes.
And Bob, I should really tell him how much you appreciate appreciate it by telling him to leave. What's wrong with him?
All right, thank you very much, and thank Mr. Hughes and his family for being here, as well as Mr. Jones in the back as well. And thank you for bringing this to our attention. And I see some other members of the Falls Athletic Association here. Thank you very much for being here. It's our pleasure to do this. We actually haven't done this before, and it really is only because it really, not brought to our attention whenever soldiers necessarily go away and come back. We don't get any information about that as a governing body. We have no idea when someone goes off to serve and when they come home. It's certainly something we have no problem doing, and it's our honor to do it as a way of thanking. So, by all means, if there are other members of the community that deserve this honor, we'd be happy to pass that on. But just we have to be told about it. Mr. Jones was gracious enough to let us know, and we're happy to do it. So, again, thank you very much for your sacrifice and for being here this evening. So, we have some interesting things in the agenda, but by all means, if you don't necessarily feel like staying, we understand that too.
He's suffered enough.
Okay, we're going to move to item number 1 on our agenda, which is public comment. We have 5-minute maximum per person, 45-minute maximum overall. I don't think we'll have any problems meeting that. First name on the list is Andy Dell.
Good evening. 2 questions. I wanted to know what kind of progress we're making with the soccer fields. Haven't had a chance to look down there. I mean, sort of see something going on from Route 13, but I didn't know how that project was coming out. And also the Biles Island project. I want to sort of get an update where we stand with that at this point in time.
Mr. Sullivan, I'll turn to you. I know you were going to touch on this with your engineer's report, but in terms of the soccer fields, what's the status?
The status is that the smaller field has been regraded and sodded. The sod is knitted into the ground and it looks very good. The larger field has been too wet. It's been basically graded, but it's still been too wet to actually put the sod down. We're still hoping that we can get the sod down before it becomes impossible to do so because of weather conditions. If that is the case, then we'll winterize the field with straw, hay, mulch, and sod it early in the spring.
Were both fields being sodded or one?
Yeah, Mr. Sullivan worked with the contractor, and they agreed for the same price that they were going to do a sod and a seed, they would sod both.
Really? Okay. All right.
So he did good work. Obviously, kudos to Mr. Sullivan on that. In terms of Biles Island, we just had a meeting yesterday, actually, with ACT engineers as well as Waste Management to discuss plans for moving forward with the Phase 1
Okay.
of Biles Island. The township was awarded a grant of $95,000,
I believe it was 95.
$95,000 by the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources
Okay.
of Pennsylvania, which is a grant we put in for last year. And that's for planning purposes, for doing some of the design work and looking at some of the things that we're going to be doing.
Was it supposed to be substantially higher than that?
Well, they'd put in for, like anything else, you put in for...
Was it 300,000?
Yeah, we put in for about 400,000.
400,000.
Not really expecting to get that much, but we figured why not ask and see what we get. So we got about $95,000.
And what have we spent so far, personally, from the township?
46 or something, I think, was the original.
Yeah, I believe it was in the ballpark of $50,000.
Between 45 and 50,000 so far on all the design work over the past couple of years of plans and meetings.
What are they coming forward with right now? What are we waiting for?
Right now, we are finalizing the receipt of that grant, something Mr. Gray is working with ACT on, doing with DCNR, just to finalize the reward of that. We are also looking, the next step would be to do a study. ACT will probably come in January with a proposal to do a study on gaining access to the island, what, in terms of roadways and how much of the existing roadway we can use and other ideas for actually getting people on to the island without complicating what Waste Management does on the island as well. So that's the next step.
And the fencing off of the
Well, that's going to come after we figure out how to get people on it.
Okay. Yeah, that makes more sense,
Yeah.
right? Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Yep, thank you. Roland Kinney?
Roland Kenny, Falls Township. You and your wife makes a very nice couple.
Thank you.
How's your
I know
daughter?
you ushered yours away before I had a chance to talk to her, but thank you.
She don't want nothing to do with us. Mr. Gray, how's your daughter?
Doing well, thank you.
Thank you. 5 days ago, we had a lunatic again take away the innocence of our country. I hear they want to put more gun laws. It's not gun laws. It ain't the way to go. Kids ask me, my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren, do we have people like that in my generation? We did, but we had a place to put them. Down in Philly, on the Roosevelt Boulevard, it was called Byberry. We would put them in there, and they would stay in there until they got right in their mind. You know, everybody's blaming the shooter. It ain't the shooter. He's sick in his head. He had no idea what he was doing. Matter of fact, I just heard before I came here on TV that his mother was looking into committing him. Because he's over age, you can't just have him go involuntarily. But it's something that has to be done. We never had this problem because we had places like Byberry. And these sick young men and women were put in there, and they were kept there until they were better. But I don't know whether it was in the 70s or 80s when they decided to shut down Byberry. And what they did was a travesty. What they did with them people, they just threw them out on the street, go your own way, defend for yourself, and close down Byberry. We have to come up with something other. Gun laws ain't going to do it. You stop me from having a gun, I can make a bomb. I can get a big dagger, a sword. You know, that ain't the answer. We got to help these sick individuals. They're sick. You can say what you want, but there was 27 lives thrown out the door. And it shouldn't have been. I'll leave you go at that. And congratulations to the Falcons again. Good job, girls. Good night.
Thank you. Dave Larkin?
Good evening. My name is Dave Larkin. I'm General Manager of Univar USA. We're located at 200 Dean Seavers Place in Morrisville at the New Ford Mill Road complex up there. I'm here to get some advice on what's really a significant safety and a significant expense issue for us. Our employees, and we employ about 150 people at 3 facilities up in that complex. And they've been subjected to, in order to get to our office, to drive over nails and scrap metal. And coincidentally, right around the corner is a company, Sims Metal Management. We feel strongly that the scrap metal is emanating from there. We feel strongly that those loads aren't secured coming in or going out of there. Violation. This has been going on for a long time. Most recently, what we've done back in June, when Sims, by the way, had a significant fire up there, you may remember that. I called my counterpart there, the general manager, and tried to be a good neighbor and say, hey, we need some help in there. We need some help in the safety, the whole safety of the fire. I was talking about that, but certainly the scrap metal that's causing our employees and in our business, by the way, is chemical distribution. Our trucks go out every day, and I've got examples of what I'm talking about here. What we've done, I called Mr. Mazza, I've talked to him, I sent multiple follow-up letters. In July, I got in touch with the Falls Township Police, Officer Trindle. He came up and advised us to, when we have a flat tire, call the police department, and they'd come up and take a report. We did that a few times. It was our understanding, after talking to the investigating officers, that that really wasn't going to do any good. So we discontinued doing that, and really have just been keeping a record of what we've got. And I didn't, unfortunately, I didn't have that spreadsheet with me, but I've got multiple letters. I mean, the expense is amazing. The safety, my concern is the safety of my employees, and certainly the expense. But I don't know what to do. I don't know who has responsibility for those roads. I mean, we've sent what else we've done? We had a cease and desist letter to them, but we haven't heard back from them at all. So We went to the police actually the township's advice. That's why we went to the police, by the way. I called down here, and I'm sorry, I didn't remember the name, talked to the township manager. He advised to go to the police, and that's why we did that. So I tell you what, my employees are at a loss. I feel inadequate because I haven't been able to help, and and I got to do something, and I want to do something. I need to do something. So I'm looking for some advice. Where to go here? Who has responsibility to keep those roads safe and passable?
Exactly which roads are we talking about?
I'm sorry, we're on 200 Dean Seavers Place, but Sims, for instance, is located on 300 Steel Road South. Okay. And that's the only way we get into our facility. There's Steel Road South and there's Steel Road North over there too. And that's what we have to travel to get in there.
Sims is supposed to be using which road? South?
South Steel Road?
They're supposed to go down New Ford Mill down south.
They do.
And that's the only road they're supposed to be using. I know.
They use Enterprise, exactly.
Is that correct? They're not supposed to be doing that. Because we had this problem with LTL Color Compounders, which is right across the street from Sims.
Right. Did they complained about it?
Oh, they've had the same exact problem for a while.
I've got a letter from Arlie in here, who's a neighbor up there too, and it's the same thing. And I won't take the time and read to you, but it's the same thing, guys.
Sims has been pretty helpful when we've approached them in the past. I know they've had street sweepers out there. I know last summer I was down there every day because of the problems with LTL, checking up on them. And I know every day that I went there, the street was either just swept. I'm not saying that it's still going on because I haven't been down there in a while. But we can get back on them again.
I've got a box of where we have some employees go out, take a walk, and they go out and they fill up their box over a short period of time, by the way. This wasn't like over 2 months.
Now, we don't have much control over the mom-and-pop scrappers that are going to Sims, but I know that those big trucks that are going to Sims are only supposed to use Ford melt. Is that right, Lieutenant Ward? Do you know with that?
They use Steel Road, and they go into Enterprise and make a left to get to their facility.
Right. But they're not secured.
Right.
They're under the vehicle code. They're proper license under the vehicle code. You don't have to secure loads like that.
So they can go ahead and just. We've seen scrap flying off the.
We've had numerous special assignments
Here's
down
the mic.
there.
Yeah, sorry.
We've had numerous special assignments down there. Officer Trindle, the truck enforcement unit, has been down there. We know the problem. We realize the problem, but it's like the referee. You only see the reaction. I mean, when we're down there, there's nothing falling off the trucks.
But who?
It's a private road. It's owned by USX Industrial Complex. They're the ones who are responsible for the roadways in there. This gentleman from Sims has been always helpful. He doesn't have to hire that sweeper. It's really not his responsibility. He has done that. He has his employees go out there and clean up in front of the road as much as possible. I mean, it's just the volume of his business is so big, and there's so many trucks. I don't have an answer.
Now, I'm not saying it's right, and we'll call him again, and we're going to reach out to USX too to see if there's something we can do with them.
And I would recommend that's certainly a call you can make, Mr. Lark. I mean, you know, as Lieutenant Ward is saying, it's an issue of actually, if we don't see the debris flying off the trucks, there's no way we can prove who it was. And that's the difficulty. I mean, I don't doubt what you're saying at all.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure it's there. I know it's there. We've had other complaints.
There was a woman from LTL Color Compounders who had debris fly off through her windshield, and that was a bad incident. She was pregnant, and it was really scary for them.
One of the options that we were looking at, and this is up to USX, and it's a major deal, is to reroute their trucks through USX to the back of the property, coming into the back of the property. There's a gate that comes through the back of the property, and keeping them out of the complex altogether. But we have no authority to tell them to do that. If we could work with someone that way, but that's a major undertaking. They could tell us no.
We have a meeting. We actually have a meeting on a different issue next week.
Involving
roads next week with U.S. Steel. So
that would solve the problem.
I would recommend that you reach out to them as well. Because it's
contact at U.S.
We can certainly we can provide you with a contact for U.S. Steel. Absolutely.
I'll give you a cell phone number if you want.
That part of South Steel Road is in U.S. Steel's complex. I believe that is the township part of South Steel Road. It's outside the steel mill.
It's outside the steel mill, but it's still USX property.
No, you guys plow that. You guys
do that.
Okay. That's a public road.
Maybe.
It's not a private road.
Right.
And there's a street sweeper out there every day.
Yeah.
They're not there all the time. They leave.
But
and they have a magnet on the front of their truck, and they pick up what they can. But they leave, and you can see the stuff falling off the trucks.
Right.
But they peep over like these triaxles, and I don't know that it's all coming from scrap.
It could be, there's other facilities down there that have steel products. I mean, unless we actually see it fall off of that specific truck. And then Sims, it's like the landfill, when trucks are going to the landfill, when trash blows off, it's not Waste Management's fault, it's the truck driving it to Waste Management.
So
That's where we're stuck.
Those loads, though, they're not secured.
They're proper under the vehicle code.
Trust me, if they weren't
They are.
secured, John Trindle would be on it.
We have, the
We are
ones that
very
we have
flexible.
seen that weren't properly secured, we've had cited them. There's different, if you see the trucks that come down with the cars, they're three-sided. They don't even have a side on the side of the truck. That's legal. They're allowed to do that. And that's probably the ones where the pieces are coming
Right,
off of.
that's obviously out of our control. I mean, we'll apply all the pressure we can, and obviously you can certainly, do the same thing. We'll let us verify what road before we call U.S. Steel and start, before you contact U.S. Steel and ask them about it. So we'll hold off on that for a little bit, until we verify.
To do what?
It would be to continue trying to contact Sims Metal, and we're going to try and contact Sims Metal. I mean, we really are limited in what we can do, as Lieutenant Ward's saying. If
Don't have any sanction over that road.
well,
I am not sure. I don't know if
we're
it's a township
we'll
road
have to
or
verify that, but even
we
still,
were under the
it's-
assumption that it was a US X road.
Okay, if it is your road, is there anything you can do?
No, not under the Pennsylvania, they pay special taxes called road taxes, which lets them use the roads.
Me too.
No, I mean, but they pay probably about $2,000 per truck to be able to do that. And we have no authority to restrict them as long as the road is open to the public.
Mr. Clark.
Whether it is our road or a U.S. Steel's road, if the company in question is violating a section of the vehicle code, as Lieutenant Ward is discussing, regarding the transportation of trash or the material that they are transporting, then they can be cited by one of our police officers. The problem that the township has run into is when we have sent code enforcement officers down there, there haven't been problems. When we have talked to Sims Metal about this, they have run the street sweeper, they have done everything else to attempt to fix the problem. But as has been said by a few different people here tonight, unless we see things flying off of their trucks, we cannot hold them responsible, because we don't know who else is maybe using those roads. We don't know who else may be dumping these things out there. So it has been a problem for the township. But we can enforce it under the vehicle code. We just can't go beyond what the vehicle code says, because we're preempted by state law, and they don't have to, as Lieutenant Ward has said, they don't have to cover all of these materials. They don't, or all of these the vehicles. So we can't make the law, we can only enforce it. And our police department has been down there attempting to enforce it, but they're not seeing the violations, although we're seeing some of the end result of it.
Do they fall under DOT Regulation 393? Each commercial motor vehicle must, when transported cargo on public roads, be loaded and equipped, and the cargo secured in accordance with this subpart to prevent cargo from leaking, spilling, blowing, or falling off the motor vehicle.
Yes, they are required that. And if we see that, then we can cite them. But they have different definitions for what is covered. It doesn't mean that it has to be totally enclosed in a vehicle. It's just a definition.
No, that's fine.
No,
That's fine.
we have issued citations when we've seen problems, and we've had Trindle down there for 12 hours a shift sometimes. They come in early in the morning. Sometimes those trucks are lined up starting at 3 o'clock in the morning. So unless we do a 24-hour, 7-day cycle.
I mean, it's that serious.
Yeah, I believe you. I know. We get a lot of the complaints.
We're not downing it. We really aren't.
You guys, my trucks are going out, and I got drivers on those trucks that they can get this size nail in there, and that thing can pop on the highway, and I got a truck going all over the place, and we got a tragedy.
Yeah.
This is serious. And if it takes being down there 24 hours, we have to do something about that. I'm not trying to make a scene here, but I'm telling you, this is not good. And these guys, I pay taxes, I got 3 facilities, I got 150 people that work up there, and those guys are looking to us to do something about this. They don't have the right to have trucks come in and dump things on, and when they go out, dump them on the way out. something's got to be done, and I can't find the right person to do it, or the right,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, unless, obviously, we don't change the laws. I mean, obviously, we'd have to require Harrisburg to make tougher laws, which, I'm not going to hold my breath on that. But we certainly can try to enforce everything we can enforce at our end, in terms of having the police there, contacting Sims Metal, and letting them know that this continues to be a problem. And we expect, them to be even more vigilant than maybe they are already, and we don't,
So
but.
can you contact?
Yes.
I mean.
Sure, we will.
I'm on record.
We'll absolutely do that. That's.
Increase the surveillance there?
I mean, we do it as much as physically possible.
Yeah.
He's pretty much down there, it's pretty much his job is,
Yeah, is
Patrolling down
traffic.
there.
Yeah, Officer Trindle especially is only traffic enforcement. It's all he does.
And it's
traffic
also the fire department, fire marshals, inspectors, and code enforcement. So we have 3 different township agencies down there looking at it, and we do the best we can.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
You said you had a meeting coming up with USX?
Yes.
Have we had these conversations with USX specifically?
No, that was just
This is a completely unrelated meeting.
yeah, we,
So we've never discussed this with them in the past?
Correct. Correct. Because until
we were sitting around a table one day trying to brainstorm other things, looking at the maps, and then we saw that they have a rear gate. We've never approached anybody about it. It was just something that we thought about.
Right. That's
But we
the
can't
first
force anybody to do it.
right. Right.
Some would think they would have an interest in being good neighbors, too.
You would think. Well, you
Trying
would
to
think they
resolve.
would, sir, but again, I called.
sorry, can you use the
So you have to use
microphone?
microphone. That's all right.
It's all right.
You would think they'd want to be good neighbors. I called after the fire, which was, you guys remember that.
Okay.
I called, said, is there anything that we can do? I congratulated them for getting it put out, and then we talked about this. I sent them a letter delineating what I talked to them on the phone. I sent 4 follow-up letters after that, or 3 follow-up letters after that, and made a personal visit over there. Nothing.
right,
They know what they've got, guys,
Right.
and they're not doing anything about it.
Well, like I said, we'll do everything that we're legally allowed to do because obviously you're right. You pay taxes as well. You deserve the right to use those roads like everybody else does and use them safely. So
Yeah, and safety's the key
Yeah,
here.
this isn't a new problem either.
Right.
We've put a lot of time into it already, but we'll get back on it.
Okay, and you understand my business, too. My
That's-
business is chemical distribution.
I know.
Okay? So is there anything I should do to follow up, or is anybody that can contact me?
Pete Gray surely
We
will.
have. I
Yeah,
mean,
we'll take
we know. We obviously we know what your business is. We have your name, so we can. Our manager can get back in touch
call
with
him.
you. Or
And we have your card, and we're going to,
So-
the engineer is going to check to see who actually owns that road, and we'll give you a call.
Okay, and then once we determine who owns the road, then, I guess, then what? Yeah.
well, if it's our road, obviously it's our responsibility. If it's U.S. Steel's road, we can find out what they can do. In terms of their property. But if it's our road, obviously we're going to start by calling Sims Metal tomorrow and letting them know this is a major issue again. And
Major, yeah.
They have to do something.
The timing when, they can bring the street sweeper in a little sooner down there at Sims when his guys are coming to work, and change the timing of when that street sweeper's down there. Maybe it's going to alleviate some.
We don't know what time the street sweeper, and Mr. Dell, just because he's not using a microphone, bring up the issue of the street sweeper coming down. We'll have to figure that out with them. That's a conversation we'll have to have with them.
There every day.
Right.
Well, it's affecting every business down there. It's not just his. We knew, this is the first we heard from you, but LTL Color Compound, that's right across the street from Sims Metal, has had this problem
Right next door, yeah.
going on for a long time.
Yeah.
We bought a tire plugging kit. It's just keep framing plugs in the tire.
Yeah.
It's all-
What, do you work there, though?
My yard's at the back gate of the steel mill.
Okay. Okay, so someone's going to get in touch with me.
Yes.
And let me know who owns the road. Anything
And you
to
can
do
call
with the
Pete Gray,
police?
right, Pete?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
And and for Lieutenant Ward, I mean, is it in terms of contacting the police whenever there's a situation? Is that the right protocol?
You can call us anytime that you need us. Just call us.
Okay.
And we'll come down.
Can I file a
You can
complaint?
you should file, every time you get a flat tire, like Officer Trindle said, file a complaint, so we have something to go back on. We don't have any data to present to Sims and say, we have 200 complaints in a month.
Right.
You got to do
Right.
I
something.
mean, we've got a spreadsheet. We have that. I didn't bring it with me. I got
That's
letters
fine.
on
That's
top of
fine.
letters in here.
We can.
Okay.
Say, obviously, you can bring it back, drop it off, and we'll.
If I bring back that spreadsheet, that'll maybe,
We'll write an additional report to that.
okay,
Okay.
all right.
All right.
Okay.
I apologize for the problems you're having, Mr. Larkin. We're going to try and
All
do what
right.
we can.
Well,
Okay.
Thank you for your time, and we'll follow up with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Gals Obert.
Yeah,
Can we hold on to this?
Yeah.
we'll give you a call.
We'll give you a call.
Yeah.
Sorry I missed your presentation. No problem. On the same thing. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Gallo Sobert, Falls Township. Sorry I missed Mr. Dell's presentation or talk on the Biles Island. My issue is on Biles Island also. Since the last time I was here, I came up with the tax map. And I also came up with some figures. If you bear with me just a minute, I will see that, here we go. These are facts, these are public records, okay? First of all, Biles Island was bought in 1992, okay? Say June 3rd. And the amount of sale was $5,950,000. And they pay taxes of $190,000, $580 taxes. When they decide to give it to whoever, they will cease to pay taxes because it's non-productive. The county tax will lose $24,466. The municipal tax, I guess that's to the township, will be $7,614. And Pennsbury School District will lose $158,500 in taxes. Now, they made a good profit and good use for the 3 mile or the Biles Island, okay, which is 471 acres. And as I mentioned the last time I was here, there's lakes in that property. And I don't know if you can get a picture of this or not, but if you take a look at it, when they get done digging and taking the ground and leaving stagnant water in there, which they have it bleeding in from the Delaware River right at this time to fill 2 new lakes, all we're going to have is a ring around the rosy like a racetrack. Right now there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 separate bodies of water in that property. You know, I think that's just poor advice to take this and spend any more money on it. In the Bucks County Courier Times in March, they listed a few figures in there, and we've already spent $712,350 on it, and we don't have nothing. We don't even own the darn thing. You shake your head, no, Mr.
We haven't spent anywhere near that much money on this project at all. I'm not sure where the numbers are coming from, Mr. Over, but
The Bucks County Courier Times, sir.
that number's not accurate.
You need $100,000 to complete it. Okay? You need $320,000 worth of work needs to be done to address questions relating to the project's master plan. That's $320 plus $100, that's $420,000. You know, I think I left you with, gentlemen, I don't like the way you're spending my money. Even though you get money from a grant, it still comes out of our pocket somewhere, somehow, some way. I just can't believe, it also said here that they're going to have a possible ice skating pond. We have an ice skating pond in Fairless Hills called Lake Caroline. When the county got that, the first thing they did is, you're not allowed to skate on that. Okay? How about that? I guess they won't be able to skate on these nine ponds that are in there. Gentlemen, I'm sorry. You're going to go and do what you want to do anyway because you got the power and you got the money. And everybody thinks it's making a lot of work, but it's not making any work for us. Okay? The lawyers have to look into it. They don't live and work in Falls Township. And I'm sorry. It's what's going to happen to all the stagnant water? You can't put a boat in it because it's stagnant. You can't swim in it because you got the river. You got the whole river to swim in. Now, some people might think it's funny, but I don't. You people are going to do what you want to do anyway, regardless of what people say up here at the speaker's box. Okay? Next issue, can I talk a little bit longer?
I'm sorry, you're over your...
The other guy was here for 22 minutes.
He had a rather serious issue regarding that we were interacting with him on this.
Ladies and gentlemen, you get the picture. Depends on who you are and what your issue is. You only get 5 minutes. Otherwise, you get as much as you like.
Thank you.
Joe.
Okay, I'm going to move to the non-resident sign-in sheet. Those are the names of the sign-in sheet. I can come back if there are others. Stacy Nasheni?
I want to thank you for letting us talk. And I'm Stacy Nochaney, Marie Goldinger, and Carrie Argenti, and we're representing PFCA cheerleading. We are a competitive cheerleading group, and we've been established with teams going from grade school to the high school level. And this year, we are very excited that we've been able to start a new program for special needs. So we have opened up a special needs cheerleading program for young adults and children, anywhere from 6 to 21. Girls and boys, and it's really an opportunity for them to become part of our PFCA family, as well as get some exercise, teamwork, learn some new athletic skills. Across the board, everything that we get to do as cheerleaders, they get to do, and a little bit more so. They have a unique opportunity. We go to competitions, sometimes a couple hours away. We're a competitive team. And the difference with this team is that they are at competitions, but they're not being judged. We're not putting them in a situation where they're being scored. We're going out as an exhibition team. And the reason being is we want to make sure that every one of our teammates gets to really do what they do well. So we get to customize our routines to pick up everybody's strengths. Some might be better at tumbling, some might be better at jumping, some might be better at dancing. These are all things we work on as practice, and we do it all together, and we really let our kids shine. So we are opening up. We have some more slots open, so we would love to have our team grow, our little family grow. And we have flyers that we posted. I think it's going to be posted on your website as well, and with some contact information. And we're really excited, and we really appreciate you letting us share this opportunity.
No, absolutely. We're proud to do it, and it sounds like a great program. And I think we're going to put it on our Channel 22 as well.
The cable channel.
The cable channel as well. So we'll get you as much advertising as we can. I don't know if any questions from board members or about the program or.
No, as I stated earlier, I did pass your information to Nancy McGinty, who runs the Challenger League down at Levittown Continental. So I think there's close to 60 kids that participate in that. So hopefully you'll be getting some participants through her.
Great, that's wonderful. We really appreciate it.
That's great, yeah. And if obviously, I would hope that you're going to Lower Makefield and Tullytown and Yardley as well, and that their meetings are, well, Yardley I'm not sure of, but I know Tullytown and Lower Makefield, their meetings are televised, and so similar presentations like this would be great. Getting the whole Pennsbury family involved. So,
excellent.
But thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
Are you going to cheer for us tonight?
Not tonight.
Okay, those are all the names on the list. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? See no hands. We'll move on with our agenda. Item number 2 is authorization to advertise for a vest for the Falls Township SWAT team. Mr. Gray?
Yes, the police department has been awarded $55,129 for a 2013 casino grant for the SWAT team. As part of the grant application, they are requesting authorization to advertise for the vests. The board is asked to consider authorization to advertise. In addition, Lieutenant Henry Ward is here to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, Lieutenant, first off, congratulations on getting awarded the grant. I know you put in a tremendous amount of work to get this, so I appreciate that. I know you had talked a little bit to us about what equipment you were putting in for.
Yes.
And I guess as much going into as much detail as you're comfortable going into, just give us an idea of what it is that we're looking at here.
We were awarded $55,129. What that's going to include is new upgraded vests for the police department. There are going to be 20 actual vests with 40 plates. The new plates are ballistic rated, so they're able to take a higher caliber round, 308 caliber round, which would enhance the safety of the SWAT team officers. We're asking for new uniforms for the entire team. Right now we have Bensalem, Bristol, and Falls. All three of us have slightly different uniforms, so we're trying to standardize everything. We asked for ladders. We're awarded that. Lights, special lights, and for our detective division, for Detective Kaufman, who's an expert on phone and mobile communication devices, we've been awarded for the second year $11,000 to upgrade our equipment.
Okay. All right, comments or questions for Lieutenant Ward? Mr. Galloway?
No questions. Just again, congratulations on getting a grant, and I'm impressed by how you guys chase this money down for what you need.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Snipes?
No, same comment, yes.
Mr. Dents?
Same thing, nice work.
Thank you.
Mr. Rocco?
I have none.
No?
Thank you.
Any public comment? No? Okay, so we're looking then to authorize advertisement for equipment for the SWAT team. We don't have to state, obviously, the amount since we've been awarded that much. We're just authorizing advertisement for the bids, correct?
Yes.
Okay, is there a motion to authorize advertisement?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right, thank you. And also thank you for, your assistance earlier with the issue with the property on Dean Severs. So,
No problem.
Thank you.
Take care.
Merry Christmas. Thank you.
You too.
Okay, item number 3 is consider adopting the 2013 budget and resolution establishing millage rate for the year 2013. Mr. Gray.
Yes, on November 20th, the Board of Supervisors authorized advertisement for the proposed 2013 budget. This has been available at several locations, including the Township website, at the Township building. The budget has been on display, as I mentioned, and at this time, the board is asked to consider adopting the 2013 budget.
Okay. Comments or questions from board members? I see Mrs. Rukoff is here as well. She did all the, the lion's share of the work on the budget. Obviously, department heads submit their budgets, and then she, works to compile all that information and put it all together. And Mr. Markey helps her with the electronical things, and okay,
Whatever he does.
that's right. It does whatever he does. It's behind the door there. Mr. Gray obviously puts in a lot of effort as well, and Township supervisors obviously have a lot of input in terms of the priorities and things that we're looking for. So, comments or questions for either Mr. Gray or Mrs. Rukoff regarding the budget? Mr. Galloway?
No questions.
Mr. Snipes?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to comment that the 11 years I've been on the board, I think each time the budget has come to us, it's been a thoughtful process. The manager of the township has involved the board, and also the finance director obviously has involved us in putting together the priorities. We've listened to the concerns that residents have, pro and con, over projects that are in front of the township, and put together the kind of budget that we feel is the most responsible. We haven't raised our tax millage longer than I've been on the board, and have managed to come out each year in better financial shape than when we went in. The township's long-term savings are in much better shape than when I first came on the board, and I think we're in good shape. And I want to thank the employees, professionals at the township for all the work they've done, and look forward to us passing the budget tonight.
Thank you. Mr. Dents?
No, I have none.
Okay. Mr. Rocco?
Yeah, unlike Mr. Snipes, this is my first year on the board. I was highly impressed with the process. I participate in corporate America, I guess, if you would, and I was impressed by the way it was handled here, so thank you all.
Okay. Yeah, and I'll echo the comments, obviously, coming on, kind of remembering back to my first time working with the budget and sort of not sitting with Mr. Gray and trying to figure out what all these columns of numbers really meant and what are all these, what are all these codes and funds and where's it all coming from and going to. And as a finance director then, Mr. Gray was extremely helpful in designing the budget and explaining it and prioritizing things and making it clear for laymen who didn't graduate with any kind of degree anywhere remotely close to finance. So really appreciate Mrs. Rukoff has done a tremendous job as well in that role in the past several years here. A great hire by Mr. Gray, him going out and stealing her from a neighboring township. So it was nice work by him. But I appreciate all the work that goes into this. Certainly there are cuts that are made at different levels. Departments ask for a certain amount of equipment, certain amount of money. They have a wish list that usually is cut down first by Mr. Gray as he starts to look at where we need to make some adjustments and what we can afford and not afford. And then in many occasions he brings different issues to the Board of Supervisors' attention, and we have some recommendations and some ideas, again, as Mr. Snipes said very, very well, listening to the comments and concerns of members of the public. And I think over the years it's probably been pretty clear that what we've been trying to do is improve the quality of life of Falls Township, improving the roads, improving the kind of services we can provide here in the township, if it's buying new police vehicles, if it's buying new vehicles for public works, if it's upgrading the equipment, as you heard this evening with the police and with the other departments we have here, improving the recreation opportunities for the families, anybody from dog owners to boat owners to skateboarders to children of all shapes and sizes, and trying to do our best to make this community even better than it already is. So I think we've continued with that, and I appreciate all the work that goes in, and I think it's a good budget. Any public comment needed? See one hand. Motion to open public comment.
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Mr. Mariani?
Thank you. First, I want to wish everybody a blessed Christmas, and let me say peace on earth to men of goodwill. Now, Ms. Rukoff, I'm going to try this again and see if I do it right this time. I said when doing the budget, you remove everything and allow only those things that you absolutely cannot live without to come back. If we do that, I think we can save a few $1 million, and quite frankly, I think we could do that with this budget right here. The income from host fees were estimated to be $13,500,000. Of that, 10.2 goes to support the general fund. The balance is going to support the road program. We have again used all of our host fees totally, again this year. Now, I understand and I support the use of host fees for extraordinary capital expenditures, major repairs and replacements. My concern with the use of host fees is that they have become a major source of funding for normal operating expenses. And I think they should be financed solely by tax revenue. When you do that, it acts as a restraint on what I consider to be reckless and probably unnecessary spending. The other concern I have by using host fees the way we do is that I don't think most of the residents in this township have an idea of what this government costs, because they're not paying directly into it through taxes. Now, I looked at the budget, and I have just highlighted a few things, what I consider the most important things right now. If you go to page 4, there's health insurance that went from $65,471 to $96,223. That's over a 39% increase. I don't know why but how many people would that insurance cover? Now, you don't have to answer these things now. I just want you to make a note of it. That's an awful big jump. I don't know how many people are involved in that 96,223. That's on page 4. Page 5, the solicitor this year was $70,000 over budget. Last year, almost $129,000 over budget. Attorneys work, they should be paid. But I'm wondering if we can have maybe better control over the events that cause these kinds of overruns and the need for those kind of attorney intercessions. The engineer was $80,000 over budget this year. We have an increase in his budget for 2013 of 61.5%. That's on page 6. You go to page 16 and 26, we have a boat ramp that was $208,000 over budget when it was built, and it's not supporting its own maintenance. On page 26, I see that we have New Falls pedestrian trail, $60,000. Is that to create a reason to build sidewalks in the future or trails for what I consider to be non-existent pedestrians? I spent a lot of time there when we were talking about this. Do we need to spend $60,000 for a fishing pier? Now, you guys are going straight ahead with this Bile Island project, Phase 1. Phase 1 includes a fishing pier. Why do we need to spend $60,000 on another fishing pier? I don't know. The senior center was down for $1 million. Now, we got a community development block grant, $385,000. Did we ever collect that money?
No, we did not. We need to submit the bill. When the bills come through, and we'll submit them to the county for reimbursement.
Okay, so then that $1 million becomes $615.
It will be reduced by the income that's received from the county.
Okay, thank you. Community grant last year for the police was almost $217,000. I didn't see an entry for that. Now, I see a municipal complex for $1.2 million. There's no question about it in my mind. We need to do the renovations, and this place is not suitable for the way we use it. We all agree on that. But I believe we can do it for a lot less than $14 or $15 million. And Kimmel Bogret, I think you got the right people, and I think they can bring us in under that. Biles Island, $507,000. We got to just remove that from the budget. Get rid of it. Doesn't belong there. We shouldn't be involved in it. I think if you take a look at the science of mathematics, it's going to bankrupt this township. And nobody to this day has been given me how they intend to support that. I don't think it's going to be phase 1. I think it's programmed for 4 phases. I think that's what the intention is. I just want to give you a couple of quick statistics, and there's a good reason why I want to do that for you. The cost of living in Falls is 19.6% higher than it is in the U.S. The population growth here is minus 0.53%. Unemployment's at 6.6. Job growth in Falls is minus 0.79. Median income for a male, $41,002. For a female, $31,17. And the median income for a household is about $50,000 in Falls Township. Noting these statistics, I feel our budgets, the one we have now, the budgets that we're going to do in the future, we got to predicate that on realistic future revenue expectations. If you take a look at the statistics I just gave you, that's going to be our revenue source without host fees. Do you think that revenue source is going to be able to sustain the projects that this board has committed this township to, and what you intend to commit this township to without host fees? And the science of mathematics says you're not going to be able to do it. So I don't know what this board wants to be remembered for, but I'm going to tell you. This board, you folks right now, have the opportunity to be remembered as the board who set in motions actions to establish sound fiscal accountability that resulted in Falls Township becoming self-supporting without host fees. You have the opportunity to do that now, beginning with this budget. I always say you can do this by eventually eliminating the host fees for normal operating expenses. You can do that. You do that by expanding your tax base. I said that 100 times. Let me explain what I mean when I say expanding your tax base, which you're going to have to do. You don't do it, following boards are going to have to. We're talking about liquor, amusement, wage, earned income. They're all taxes that are going to have to be put in place when host fees are gone. And finally, I'd like to see you start this budget with a few exceptions, never using host fees. Take the host fees, accumulate them into a fund, secured accounts, and begin to provide perpetual income for our township residents. Every single year, they get a check. That's what I'd like to see you do. And if there's any way that I can be helpful, I'll be glad to do it. If you have any questions for me, I'll be glad to answer them. And I hope you accept this the way I proposed it to you. This is not any severe criticism. It's just maybe a different approach that I have. I'm a little more conservative than some of the members of the board. So again,
thank you.
Blessed Christmas to everybody.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And appreciate your input. I think some of the issues in terms of the boat dock, just to bring up the one you talked about, $60,000 for boat dock is at the community park. So there's no place, or fishing pier, no place to fish there. There's a boat ramp, but there's no place to tie up your boat if you put a boat in there. So it's sort of something that was designed, I think, to probably go in that park when it was designed originally. It just never was. And we've had people come here asking for fishing piers, especially piers people can get to if they're handicapped, and that's pretty much the only place we can put one. So that's one of the ideas, just addressing that one. In terms of the building, you talked about trying not to do it for $14 million, and I think everybody up on this board agrees with you. In fact, Mr. Dents, Mr. Rocco are a special subcommittee that'll be meeting, I think, this week. Correct. With they've already met once with Kimmel Bogret to let them know that that number was too high and they had to come down. The $1.2 million figure you looked at is for the design work and all the engineering that's going to have to be done. And so that's essentially what we're looking at for that money. And so that's, but that is something that we are very conscious of. And obviously certain things we're going to, sort of agree to disagree on things like Biles. The New Falls Road pedestrian walkway, I'd be very, very honest, Mr. Mariani, I see people walking that street virtually every day, as do, I think, all the board members we talk to. Kids walking home from school every day as I'm seeing it.
I do as well.
Yes, it's certainly, and it's an issue of safety in our minds, and it's an effort to try and connect existing sidewalks to ones that we can maybe put a couple here and there to connect ones that are going in, rather than just us building a brand new one all the way down. It's where are there sidewalks already, where are there walkways already, where aren't there walkways? Let's patch, basically, and make it easier. And so the money that we're looking to spend is essentially to search for grant money and also to do some design work. And so that's and to do some surveying, that kind of work, just to see what we're able to do, and do it in as cost efficient manner as possible. So all right, other comments or questions regarding the budget?
I have just a quick one on the sidewalks. Sure. What we were planning, what we've talked about ourselves and we've met about, is far from the proposal we saw a few years ago with sidewalks going up and down both sides of New Falls Road. Like Mr. Harvey said, we're talking about patching small areas and crosswalks to connect where we already have sidewalks, just so that people do have a safe route on New Falls Road without having no choice but to walk in traffic. But it's far from the 2 sidewalks down both sides that was proposed a few years ago.
Right. So, is there a motion to close public comment?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Excuse me, I'm just remembering that I never shut my phone off, so before it rings.
I noticed you doing that, so.
Before it rings, let me shut it off, so, okay, sorry about that. Just clicked in my head. All right, so other comments or questions, either for Mrs. Rucall, for Mr. Gray regarding the budget?
None.
Before we take a vote. All right, this will be a resolution
27.
12-27. Okay, so.
Excuse me.
We need to adopt the 2013 budget and then pass the resolution establishing the millage rate. So the first one should be to adopt the 2013 budget as presented.
And the resolution's adopting the millage rate.
Right, then we go second. That'll be the second vote.
Right. So we look first to a motion to adopt the 2013 budget as presented.
So moved.
Seconded.
Motion made and seconded. Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Rocco?
Yes.
Okay, resolution 12-27, fixing the tax rate and special levies for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2013, appropriating specific sums estimated to be required for the specific purpose of the township, hereinafter set forth for the fiscal year 2013. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right, thank you very much. Item 4, consider the crossing guard memorandum of understanding for the period 2013-2016. Mr. Gray.
Yes, over the last few weeks, the township has been meeting with the Crossing Guard Union, SCIU Local 32BJ, discussing the upcoming contract. The current contract expires at the end of this month. The township and the union did come to an agreement, and there is a memorandum of agreement prepared for the board to consider tonight. This would be a 4-year contract from 2013 to 2016. There are items in the contract which allow for wage increases, some housekeeping items, and some other things as well. The board is asked to consider approving this memorandum of understanding.
Okay, comments or questions regarding the memorandum of understanding with the Falls Township Crossing Guards? Mr. Galloway?
No questions.
Mr. Snipes?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Dents?
No.
Mr. Rocco?
None.
Okay, any public comment needed? See no hands. Okay, is there a motion to adopt the memorandum of understanding with the crossing guards for the period of 2013 to 2016?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded by Mr. Dents. I think he beat you to the punch now, Mr. Snipes. Sorry.
I'm sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Okay. Item 5. Consider the AFSCME Memorandum of Understanding for the period 2013 to 2017. American Federation of State, County, Municipal Employees. Mr. Gray?
Yes, similar to the crossing guards, the township has been meeting with representatives of AFSCME, District Council 88, Local 1598, to come up with a new contract for the contract that expires at the end of this month. This is a 5-year agreement. There are several housekeeping changes to the collective bargaining agreement as well. It also does allow for a wage increase and several items also. The board is asked to consider this memorandum of understanding for AFSCME and Falls Township.
Okay. Comments or questions regarding this agreement for Mr. Gray? Mr. Galloway?
No questions.
Mr. Snipes?
And this covers a time period of
This would be
5 years?
5 years,
5 years.
till 2017.
Thank you.
Mr. Dents?
No, none.
Mr. Rocco?
I have none.
Okay. And I have none. Is any public comment needed? See no hands. Okay, then is there a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding for the between AFSCME and Falls Township for the period 2013 to 2017?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. I want to thank Mr. Gray for his work, as well as Mr. Jordan Yeager, who's a labor attorney for the township, and also the crossing guards, as well as the AFSCME union, for their cooperation over the past year in terms of negotiating these contracts with the township. Item number 6, consider awarding workers' compensation contract for the year 2013. Mr. Gray?
Yes, the township requested and received a quote for workers' compensation insurance for 2013. Our current carrier, Delaware Valley Workers' Compensation Trust, provided a quote in the amount of $420,161. This represents an increase of just over $40,000 over the 2012 premium. We also received estimates from 2 other carriers. Those quotes were $582,000 and $674,000. In addition to the insurance, the township receives both a dividend and a safety grant annually from the trust. The trust also provides safety seminars for the employees as well. As a comparison, Bristol Township and Middletown are projected to pay $863,000 and $561,000 respectively if they renew with their current carriers. The board is asked to consider Delaware Valley Workers' Compensation Trust for Falls Township's workers' compensation insurance carrier for the year 2013 at a premium of $420,161. In addition, Mrs. Rukoff from the Finance Department is here in case you have any questions.
Okay. Mr. Galloway, questions?
No questions.
Mr. Snipes?
No, thank you.
Mr. Dents?
How many employees total does that cover?
96 full-time and all of the part-timers as well. Anybody on our payroll?
Yeah, that's all I had.
Including us?
Yes.
And if I could just jump in, how does that compare to the number of employees covered at the other 2 municipalities that you mentioned?
That was my next
Do you have any
question.
idea?
Bristol's
Very similar.
bigger municipality.
Middletown is very similar.
Middletown's similar.
What township?
Similar to us.
In number of employees, you mean?
Well, yes. Yeah, number of employees, yes. Yeah. Anything else?
That's it, thank you.
Mr. Rocco?
Yes, this looked like a little bit over a 10% increase from last year.
Yes.
Do you recall what it was the prior year? Is 10 like the average year over year?
No, it varies from.
In some years, it's gone down.
Yes,
actually.
actually.
That's
Really,
okay.
back in
I was
90
curious.
in 2000, I think it was under $100,000. So it's going up, it's going down, based on the market, based on the conditions. It varies from year to year. So you have good
Did we
years.
have a lot of claims last year, workers' comp claims?
Yeah, so one of the questions I had do we know why this, because this is, I think, the biggest jump since I've been on the board. My first thought was it was the accident with Officer Colleen that drove this up. I don't know if would do it by itself. I'm not sure of that.
They do take into consideration any claims that are put in, the economy. There's a couple of different factors that are brought into consideration.
Okay.
So was last year a bad year for us with claims?
We did have several claims, yes.
That's all I have.
Anything else?
No, that's all I had. Thank you.
No, and I appreciate the questions from board members, and I appreciate the comparison you put in here. And Bristol Township is paying basically more than double what we're paying for this, and Middletown Township's paying $120,000 more a year. So that's a pretty significant separation between communities that are pretty similar to us and ourselves. So, any comments or questions from the public? One question, motion to open public comment?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Mr. Dell?
My question's for Mr. Gray. I know when I've had incidents with workers' comp, they change your multiplier rate. I forget. There's a certain.
Yes, there is a rate, yes.
What is your multiplying rate over what your because it's supposed to actually be below 1, and you get a slight discount when it's below 1. Once it's over 1, it's like 1.2, 1.4. That's what they multiply your normal rate by, and that's what you end up paying. And it takes several years to get off of that. So basically, you're self-insured because they make you pay your money back for what you basically could have done it cheaper paying out of pocket sometimes for the employee mishap versus going through workers' comp. But it's 0.909, so you guys aren't even being really penalized then. Now, if you're not getting penalized, how's it go up $40,000? I mean, I can understand if you're being penalized,
We're
but
not trying to go up.
Yeah, I understand.
We got 3 quotes, and that was the lowest one.
Yeah.
Really? Okay. And who's the provider?
The
One was
increase
over
is
half a
not
million.
always directly related to your loss. It's related to certain market conditions. And from the fact that Mr. Gray had quotes from 2 other carriers that were significantly higher, the Delaware Valley Workers' Compensation Trust came in lower, but I don't know anything today that was as cheap as it was a year ago. Things just go up. It's not just necessarily related to loss, but we were just sitting here talking about, we had probably 3 or 4 significant workers' comp claims during 2012.
Well, I guess the question I have is maybe they haven't even hit your policy yet as far as changing your multiplier. Maybe next year it's even going to be a little bit higher. But I just wasn't sure if there's, if the other 2 companies were significantly higher.
Next lowest one was $582,000.
What was the price difference?
$160,000.
For what you're paying now? See,
Well, from what we're probably going to approve right now.
Well, I guess that's
About 40,000.
You want a 40
next year.
And it's the same carrier as you had last year?
Yeah, oh yeah, we've been with them for many years.
Okay.
The one quote was $674,000. And then 582 was the next lowest one.
And theoretically, the workers' comp comes from it's state workers' compensation. So whatever.
No, that's a separate, this is a trust. It's a group of municipalities that are part of the trust.
So it's not a state workers'
No,
insurance
that's
fund?
SWIFT. No, this is a trust. Various municipalities in Bucks County and Montgomery County get together and they go out and they join a pool.
Okay. All right. Well, that answered my question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Motion to any other comments or questions? Sorry. Motion to close public comment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so we've had some good discussion on this issue. Obviously, everyone likes to pay more in insurance, but we've had some good times where we saw the bills go down. So eventually, it's going to go up at some point. Hopefully, we can hold it around this rate or maybe make it a little lower. But all right, so we're looking at awarding the workers' compensation contract to Delaware Valley Workers' Compensation Trust for the 2013 year in the amount of $420,161. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Rocco?
Yes.
Okay, item 7 is consider adopting an amendment revising Chapter 206 Records Ordinance. This specific ordinance change relates to the practice that a few of our records were involved in, where they were subcontracting out to records that we did not necessarily know. If we're going to be calling out, if you're some kind of whether it's an accident or a car disabled on the side of the road, and if our police are involved and they call for a wrecker, the wreckers that are coming are essentially coming under the authority of Falls Township. And so we have the right to do our due diligence and make sure that any wrecker that's towing a car, because we've asked them to, has the proper insurance, proper equipment, a proper lot that's secured. They run a good business so that someone's not going to show up on a Monday to try and get their car out and no one's going to be there till Friday. And then they end up paying overnight fees, et cetera, et cetera. We've had an issue which we haven't really had before, which is why we have to change this ordinance, where wreckers are subcontracting out so that they can handle more calls, and we don't really know who they're contracting out to. They're not wreckers that we have any knowledge of. So we have to make sure that we know who these people are and that they're qualified, and this essentially prevents them from subcontracting out. I want to thank Ms. Gallagher for doing a lot of work on this. Comments or questions from Ms. Gallagher regarding the ordinance? Mr. Galloway?
No questions.
Mr. Snipes?
So obviously we can prevent them from doing this. We can legally prevent them from doing this. There's not. Go ahead. Why don't you explain it?
Yes, we can. This is for records that the Township Police Department calls out to tow. This does not affect anybody that calls privately for any kind of tow work or anything. So this is, because these records are acting on behalf of the Township, we can regulate them.
So we went through a lot of work to make sure that we have a list of very reputable people who are going to treat folks in the township the right way, and now we're concerned that if they subcontract, we may be opening it up to a pool of people who are not governed by the same parameters that we've put to protect folks.
Precisely.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Dents?
And this has been going on a few times. We've had this problem where they call, Snipes gets the duty call to go tow so-and-so, and he can't do it, so he calls Harvey, go tow for me, and Harvey's not on our tow list. When you applied to be on our tow
Fly-by-night
list,
business.
his name wasn't on your application. It seems like we're constantly doing something. These guys can find a loophole anywhere. And we're already working on one for next year's towing ordinance, because we've already found a problem in this year's coming up, so. Yeah, this is something that we obviously need to do, but nice work, Ms. Gallagher, and thank you.
Mr. Rocco?
Yeah. So what is the penalty? Did we have to address specific penalties for this, or does it give us the ability to hold a hearing like we would normally do?
It's subject to all the same penalties that any other violation of the ordinance would be, which includes holding a hearing and subject to possible fines, revocation of the towing license.
Luckily, they police each other, so.
Yeah.
If somebody else does it, believe me, somebody's gonna be ratting on the other one.
All right.
Sure, the business, I guess.
Thank you. That's all I had.
Sure.
All right, any public comment? See one hand. Is there a motion to open public comment?
So moved.
All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
And that wasn't a jab at towers at all.
No, that's fine. Bill Lanhauser, Pendel Towing. I just wanted to clarify that if I am on duty tow and I'm backed up, I can call like Benny Backus from Falls Auto Body because he's another duty tower to back me up.
No.
I don't believe
I can't call
so.
anybody.
No.
No.
You gotta
Okay,
tell
'cause-
the county when they call you that I can't do it, call the next
Okay,
guy on
because in the
list.
past, I could use another duty tower as long as they were one of the duty towers.
Right.
I couldn't bring in an outside company, like in Middletown.
Right.
I want
You
Middletown.
can't pick and choose who it'll be. No, the county would go to the next person on the list.
Okay, that's what I wanted
You
to,
can't do it yourself with one of the trucks on your list. I may be wrong. Ms. Gallagher should be speaking on this.
No,
now.
you're correct. This takes away the discretion of the towing company to call
we
any
thought
other
of that.
tower.
Right.
no, I mean, that's how it was in the past. It was okay that, you know, if I got jammed up, I could call somebody else that was also a duty tower from Falls Township. Like, that's how we do it in Middletown. If I'm busy, I can call Scrappy's and he can, because he's on duty tow also. And as long as we keep it within the duty towers, because we're all
Authorized.
authorized, exactly, that we could keep it as long as we kept it. We couldn't call our friend from Philly to come in and help us, but
Right.
we could call Scrappy's or, you know, Benny Backus or,
Yeah, this is a different system, and the idea, of course, you know, as we said, we have a list of towers, and there's a rotation. You're first on the list, and then Piscopo's is second, and then, you know, somebody else is Superior's third and fourth. And if you can't call, go to the next guy. You know, and next time there's a call, go to the next guy. Next time
okay, I just wanted to that's why, actually, why I came. I just wanted to clarify that because in the past, we could,
It's a good question.
Yeah, it's good you came.
to the other duty towers, but that's,
I guess we should alert the rest of them that that's
Correct.
the
You're
case.
right. Yeah, this is different.
so now
than
we
what
just tell the dispatcher, listen, I'm busy.
I can't do it.
I can't respond in the proper time period.
Bumps to the next guy.
It doesn't mean if there's another accident an hour later, they're not going to call you again.
But yeah,
Right,
how it
right,
works.
okay. I just wanted to clarify that, just to make sure that I'm not, you know,
No,
you
that's
get
fine.
some icy morning, sometimes you don't have enough tow trucks to go around.
Right.
Other times, you're paying the guys to wash the trucks, so that's just the way it works, but,
Right.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And the township is in the process of reviewing the 2013 applications right now, so all the towers that are approved for the 2013 tow list will be notified of the changes to the ordinance.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? See no hands. Is there a motion to close public comment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so this would be ordinance 12-09.
09.
Okay, ordinance 12-09, revising Chapter 206 Records, subsection 7 prohibited acts. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay, motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Okay, item 8. We are looking to authorize the manager to finalize the award for the South Olds Boulevard culvert replacement. This has been sort of an ongoing project. The 30-day review period will be up, I think, on the 27th. Okay, and obviously we're not meeting until January 7th will be our next meeting, our reorganization meeting, and so rather than wait those 10 days or 11 days or so for action to be taken, this would authorize the manager, once the 27th hits, subject to the review report by Mr. Sullivan, if the company checks out and meets our responsible contractors ordinance, Mr. Gray would be allowed to just authorize them to begin work and award them the project. Comments or questions either for Mr. Gray or Mr. Sullivan regarding the South Olds Boulevard culvert replacement? Mr. Galloway?
No questions.
Mr. Snipes?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Dents?
None.
Mr. Rocco?
Yeah, this is probably the third time since I've been on the board that we've had to wait for the 30-day period or an extension. I think one time there was an issue with the contractor even passing. So we can address this now or wait for engineering comment? What is can you explain the process, and can more be done up front? So we obviously ask them when they're submitting the bid if they have certain qualifications, correct?
Yes. They have to fill out the actual checklist to say that they will meet the responsible contractor requirements, but then they have to
They will or they do?
They have to fill, during their bid, when we receive the bid, there is a checklist they must fill out. It indicates that they can meet all the requirements of Chapter 146 of the code, which is responsible contractor. They then have to prove that through paperwork as part of the review period. The problem is that sometimes the meetings, after we issue a notice of intent to award and we're authorized at a meeting, the next day we try to issue that notice of intent. 2 meetings later is not 30 days. It's less than 30 days.
Right, no, I understand the timing, yeah.
So we ask the manager to get approval for doing that so that we don't have to wait.
So I guess my
beyond
question is, why not require them to submit the paperwork with the bid?
The ordinance requires that there be a 30-day review period, not simply for the contractor to submit information, but for members of the public to review the bid and to review the information regarding that contractor if there's going to be any challenge to the contractor's ability to meet all the requirements of the ordinance. So the 30 days is not just for them to get all their information in, because normally they get that into Mr. Sullivan pretty quickly. It's the review period. And normally we don't have a problem, but this is just the way the meetings fell this month. Well, sometimes it falls because we met on the 20th. Our last meeting in November was on the 20th, and we're on the 18th tonight, so that's why we didn't get the full 30 days.
So if I can interrupt, just so maybe is your question, does it have to be 30 days? Could it be 20 days?
Yeah, so I guess...
Instead of a 30-day review, could it be a 20-day review?
Change your ordinance if you would like.
Right, the ordinance now requires a minimum of 30 days.
I think this was the second time this year.
It's happened, yeah, it's happened a couple times.
And we've just authorized Pete to do it. We just give him the authorization to authorize it.
Right.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah. So, but that's certainly something we can look at if the work can be done in 20 days, or you know, I just gave 20 as a number.
Right,
So.
which would give us enough time for our next meeting.
Right. So.
And the other information that we asked during that review period is for them to give us their performance bonds, their material and labor payment bonds, which is a cost to the contractor, so they wouldn't give that during the bid. That would have to be after the notice of intent to award, and that can take more than a couple weeks to get all that information.
Right.
So they're not going to...
Yeah, they're not going to submit it, not knowing if they're going to get the bid, because it requires resources up front.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah, maybe it's something we can talk about, but thank you.
Good question. All right. Okay. Any public comments? See no hands.
There's one hand.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I could back up to the last subject if possible.
For the towing thing, if you want to, we were going to take a recess in a little while, couple quick agenda items. If you just want to wait a little bit, is that okay? All right, thanks. So we're going to look to authorize manager to finalize award for South Olds Boulevard culvert replacement. Whew. Okay, 10 times real fast. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. So thank you.
Can I jump in on that subject? So when would construction start? Right after we finalize the
Mr. Sullivan?
background?
Well, the actual construction probably won't occur until sometime in early February.
Okay.
Because there's a lead time for the culvert. There's issues with PICO. We have to de-energize some lines so that when the machinery doesn't bump into it and cause a catastrophe.
Good thinking.
Good idea. Thanks.
Okay. All right, minutes for November 20th, 2012. Are there any comments or questions, corrections for the minutes? Let's see. Mr. Galloway?
No questions.
No. Mr. Snipes?
No comments, and thank you once again, Mrs. Pullen, for excellent minutes and for a year of excellent minutes. It's not easy work, but thank you.
It's gotten easier.
I think it's
though.
gotten
a
easier.
lot easier.
That's true. I'll back up. It's gotten a little bit easier. It has gotten a little bit easier.
Yeah. Less colorful, but yeah.
Less tedious, maybe.
Yes, I don't have any issues or questions or comments. Mr. Dents?
None.
Mr. Rocco?
I have none.
Okay. Is there a motion to adopt the minutes as presented?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. All right, engineers report. Mr. Sullivan, any sort of highlights here? Hopefully some.
We have a few highlights, Mr. Chairman, thank you. The 2012 road program is still going strong. We've had good weather through November and December. Storm sewer installation is complete on Winding Way, and it continues to move along well on Louise Drive, Valley Road, and Hedgerow Drive. PECO's contractor, Danilla Corporation, is on site relocating gas mains and services ahead of the contractor so that there's no delay in the storm sewer work. And hopefully that'll keep continuing as the weather stays warm, at least for another week or so. Penn's Grant Tennis Court, the contractor showed up after he'd done the surface, actually the base course, and is installing the fence around the perimeter of the court. And again, we can't do the actual color or top coat layer because it's very weather dependent, so that'll be done in the springtime. Senior Center is moving along. If you've been by there, you can see that the slab is poured and steel has begun to be erected. So it's actually starting to look like a building. All the storm sewer installation is done. The basin is complete. So most of the site work is done. They'll finish the parking lot and such after the building is complete. As we talked about the soccer fields, the smaller soccer field is actually complete and sodded. The larger soccer field, hopefully we can get that done this year. That's still the plan. It's supposed to get a little bit colder next week, and of course there's a holiday next week, so if that's not the case again, we will do what's called winter stabilization and finish it in the springtime.
Okay, thank you. See, comments or questions for Mr. Sullivan regarding his report? Mr. Galloway?
No comments.
Okay. Mr. Snipes?
Only comments to thank you for your work.
Okay. Mr. Dents?
I do have a question. It's not so much about this report, but it reminded me of something. A resident on Walton Drive called me because they were surveying that road and marking their street. I assume that's for the 2014 road program?
Not really. It's for
13, I'm sorry,
2013.
13. I'm a year ahead of me.
That's right. It's for the 2013 road program.
Okay. And is that what they're doing? They mark the utilities in the street, correct?
Utility gets marked out. We call it the one-call system. Utilities get marked out, and the surveyors go out
colors
and
are for
actually
different
survey
utilities.
those locations.
That's all. Thank you.
Mr. Rocco?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay. I don't have anything either. Public comment needed? See no hands. Okay, is there a motion to adopt or to accept the engineer's report as presented?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the bill list for this evening. Excuse me. Board members will note a memo from Mrs. Rukoff indicating that there was a business that had originally put in for an escrow release, and they have withdrawn that request, and so we will not be paying that tonight. And so the bill list would be a little bit less, but $1,100 less. So we're looking at $2,180,897.75, and of that roughly 2.2 million, about $838,000 is payroll, another $227,000 for health insurance. So obviously, well over $1 million. More than half of the bill list is for salaries and health insurance for our workers. And obviously there's a lot of work in here, obviously for road work and everything else. So comments or questions regarding the bill list? Mr. Galloway?
No questions.
Mr. Snipes?
No, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Mr. Dents?
None.
Mr. Rocco?
I have none.
Okay, any comments from the public? Okay. All right, is there a motion then to pay the bills?
Excuse me.
Mr. Gray has something.
Oh, go ahead, sorry.
Just want to confirm the dollar amount.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I think
2 million?
I read the wrong one. $2,179,776.08.
I saw them panicking over there.
I apologize. I had it in front of me, and I was looking at the other one. So $2,179,776.08. Okay. Is there a motion to pay the bills in that amount?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Rocco?
Yes.
Okay. We do have need for an executive session, so we're going to take a short recess. Well, I'm good.
Okay. That's fine.
So we'll be back when we're finished the executive session. Thank you. So you're going to talk to Lauren? Here after our executive session, Mr. Clark, can we have a summary, please?
Yes, Mr. Harvey, during the executive session, the board discussed contract negotiations, a matter of litigation, and a personnel matter.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, Mr. Gray, we're up to you. Manager comment?
Yes, just a few items tonight. First item deals with cash escrows. The township has developer cash escrows on hand that we have received letters from the developer requesting release of the funds. These escrows have been reviewed by the engineer's office. All final inspections have been completed and are ready for release. There are a total of 6. First one is Castle Club Apartments, $417.32. T-Mobile, $2,010. Sprint, 42 New Bold Road, $1,800. Sprint, 701 Fallsington Toytown Road, $1,340.79. Sprint, 275 Lincoln Highway, $1,059.28. And International Salt, $11,200. The board is asked to consider approving release of these cash escrows.
Okay, Mr. Clark, are we able to do these all at once? We have to do them individually.
I believe you could approve Mr. Gray's memo of December 12, 2012, so you can do them all at once.
Okay, thank you. All right, comments or questions regarding the escrow releases?
None.
From anybody?
No.
No.
Okay. All right, is there a motion then to approve the payment of the cash escrows as stated by Mr. Gray in his memo of December 12th, 2012?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor? Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me, I have to do a roll call. We spend money. Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Rocco?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that.
The township received a letter from Mr. Thomas Hecker dated December 10th regarding a land development application of Viking Associates. He's requesting an extension on this project until March 31st, 2013. The board is asked to consider approving this extension.
Okay, for Viking. All right, comments or questions regarding the letter of extension?
This isn't our first, this isn't the first request for an extension.
No.
Right. And
no.
can it continue to be extended?
You can extend it this time. We believe we're coming close to a resolution on this matter, and we anticipate having something for the board in early January for consideration for then possible some action at our second January meeting.
Thank you.
Okay. All right,
Sorry.
is there a motion then to approve the letter of extension for Viking Associates to March 31st, 2013?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
My next letter, the township received from Nicholas Couchet, dated December 6th, regarding the application for conditional use. He is also looking for a letter extension for Metro PCS. This extension would be through February 6, 2013. The board is asked to consider this extension.
Okay, we see 2 letters from Mr. Couchet, one for 701 Falls Tullytown Road, one for 275 Lincoln Highway.
Yes, the first one, the one I just mentioned, is for 701 Fallsington Toytown Road.
Okay. There's no harm in doing both these together, right? Same dates, everything else. Any problems doing it that way?
No.
Okay. Any questions regarding these?
I have none.
All right, is there a motion to grant the 2 extensions for Metro PCS, 701 Falls Tullytown Road, 275 Lincoln Highway, both extended to February 6th, 2013? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
The Township has secured a lease agreement with one of the township's tenants, Vaughn Insurance Managers. The lease agreement is a one-year agreement commencing January 1st, 2013 and ending December 31st, 2013. Rent for this office is based on $16.18 per foot. The board is asked to consider approval of this lease agreement with Vaughn Insurance Managers.
Okay. All right, questions or comments regarding the lease agreement for Vaughn Insurance Managers? Anybody? Questions or comments, Mr. Gray?
None.
Okay. Is there a motion then to approve the lease as presented, $16.18 per foot for Vaughn Insurance Managers?
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
My next item is a tenant lease agreement with Dynamatrix Corporation. The township has secured an agreement with Dynamatrix. This lease agreement is a month-to-month agreement commencing January 1st, 2013 and ending December 31st, 2013. Rent for this office is also $16.18 per foot. Also, Dynamatrix does receive a $100 electric use credit for township servers housed in his office. The board is asked to consider approval of this lease agreement with Dynamatrix.
Any comments or questions regarding the Dynamatrix agreement for Mr. Gray?
Is that $100 a month he gets?
Yes, he does. He's had that for several years. He houses.
To give us notice if he's going to leave.
Yes, he will give us a 90-day notice if he leaves his office, his current office.
That's all.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? No? Is there a motion then to approve the tenant agreement month-to-month, $16.18 per foot for Dynamatrix, including the $100 electric use credit per month?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
My next item concerns the 2013 Christmas tree pickup. Christmas trees will be picked up for composting on Saturday, January 5th, and also Saturday, January 12th, 2013 by Waste Management. Residents are asked to not put the trees out for pickup prior to January 1st. Trees will not be picked up during that week between the two pickup dates. After the January 12th pickup date, trees can be put out with the regular trash. Christmas trees over 6 feet must be cut in half. Please remove plastic bags and all decorations from the tree. Also, Waste Management has a collection container available throughout the month of January at their scale house located at 1400 Bordentown Road in Morrisville for anyone who wishes to drop off their tree for composting free of charge. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. And is that information going to be on the township channel?
Yes, it will.
The website? Okay. All right. Okay, thank you. Any questions for the manager regarding any issues? No. Okay. All right, up to board comment. We'll start, Mr. Rocco and Stingo first.
Yeah. I guess just two quick things. My heart and prayer goes out to the people of Newtown, Connecticut, the families, the victims, and the community as a whole. I can't imagine what they're going through. And also, Merry Christmas, everyone else. So, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Galloway?
Echo Mr. Rocco's sentiments about the tragedy, and I'd just like to wish everyone in Falls Township a Merry Christmas and a healthy and happy New Year.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes, thank you. Echo what the other two board members have just said, and this Sunday, as I attended worship soon after the tragedy happening, someone had placed in the front of the worship area a candle, which this time of year would usually sort of be symbolic of joy and at Christmas time and Hanukkah and the other celebrations people are having this time of year, but it almost felt like it was additionally a memorial for the people that had lost their lives. And a young woman spoke during the worship time and said that what a strange thing that we're celebrating joy and sadness at the same time. And I think everybody was feeling that. So we are feeling the joy of this time of year, and then also I'd like to hope that there's more than just condolences. I hope that this can be a courageous time for us as a country, and I think it's a good sign that some people who would not really have considered having a discussion about violence in our society and about gun violence in particular are now willing to have that conversation. And I think it's really sad that we have to wait until this kind of event, and I'm curious why it's now and not after Columbine or after Aurora or after the shooting of the Congresswoman or many of the other terrible situations we've had, but maybe when it finally involves very young children, then people begin maybe to think that there is something else that we can do. And I just did a little bit of research, and I'll just say briefly that there are 30,000 firearm deaths in this country a year. And I wasn't aware until maybe 2 years ago that half of those are suicides. Over half of them, between 50 and 60%, are suicides. Most of them men, a lot of them young men. And I began to think, well, certainly we could come around some kind of consensus in our country to try to help people to not take their own lives, certainly. This year, I can think of 4 families close to me who've lost young men through suicide. I actually have 2 uncles who died through the use of firearms for suicide. So that's, I can't think of a reason why we as a country at least couldn't have a consensus that that's something that we would work on. And certainly availability of people when they're in that moment of depression and making a terrible decision, which we would think if they lived they would regret, and certainly their families regret forever, that the availability, lack of availability would help to reduce that. And as a matter of fact, in Australia, in I think the mid-1990s, there was a terrible massacre. I think 37 people were murdered. And the conservative government, it was not a liberal government, conservative prime minister helped to push through legislation that restricted gun sales. I don't know the details of it, but restricted availability of weapons in Australia. And apparently I wrote this down, reduced the number of guns in private hands by 20%. And certainly advocates of gun ownership rights would maybe think that's a bad thing. But the reason I think the stats show that the guns were kept out of the hands of people who shouldn't have them is that the murder rate dropped in Australia by 40%, and the suicide rate dropped by 50%. So I think there are some concrete things that we can do, and when conservative politicians begin to talk and say, well, maybe now's the time we need to do something, maybe something will happen. But some folks have got to be courageous and step up to the plate and say there are some different things that we could be doing. And maybe they're being pushed to do that now because of the deaths of these very, very young children, which at this time of year just seems even more tragic. So I know this is not our role as on this Board of Supervisors. We don't control these kinds of laws, but we can speak up, and we do have a role in safety and security of people in our community. So I thought I would just, I'm not so much stating an opinion of my own philosophy. We all have our own philosophy, but I think the statistics are pretty clear, especially around suicide, and it's pretty disturbing. Most people who die by gun homicide are not going to die in these terrible mass shootings. Most of them are the kinds of shootings we read about in the newspaper every day, which is sad enough. But apparently there are some examples in other countries of reasonable gun safety laws that they've passed that actually have had a positive impact. And I think that's what I hope 2013 could do. I think we should be praying for our people in Washington and at the state level, and hoping that they'll take some courageous steps and that people on all sides of this will come together, because once our children are caught in the crossfires, then I think we have to do something. So that's my hope for the coming year. I also want to thank you, all as board members, for a great year of working together. There was some really great things that happened. Obviously, the mood on this board has changed, and I think the mood in the township has changed. That's a great thing. I want to thank you, Mr. Harvey, for leading us through this, and for new board members as well. Thanks for your contributions, and I'm looking forward to next year. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Dents?
I want to echo what Mr. Snipes just said. It has been a great year coming here and just productive meetings, doing business as we should. It has been a pleasure. And just want to wish everyone a Happy New Year and a Merry Christmas. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. You know, certainly as father of two children, as I know other men are in the room are, and Mrs. Poland, obviously the mother of several boys. You know, the tragedy. I think Mr. Snipes said a lot of very wise things, as he usually does. But you know, this tragedy especially hit people a different way, and it's been interesting for me to sit back and watch a lot of the reactions and a lot of the ideas about how do we prevent this, what do we do next, what's the next step, how do we, you know, what do we do, and too often we tend, and I don't know if this is something just that we do as Americans or just human beings do, look for the simple answer. What's the one thing we can do to make these kinds of horrific tragedies stop? And unfortunately, life is not that simple. The tragedy that we see, the tragedies that we've seen in Connecticut, in Aurora, in Oregon, in Tucson, in Wisconsin, just over the past couple of years, and then going back obviously to Columbine and the other shootings that took place in the 90s, these, you know, they aren't caused by lack of gun control laws. They aren't caused by our treatment of mental health issues. They aren't caused by issues of economics. They aren't caused by poor parenting. They aren't caused by the way we educate children in our schools. They aren't caused by violent video games. They aren't caused by violent television shows and movies. They aren't caused by a society that is becoming increasingly based on technology and decreasingly based on actual human contact. They are rather caused by all of those things combined. And so we can't look at one solution. Is there something that needs to be done for gun control? Yes. And I say that as a gun owner. Is there something that needs to happen in terms of mental health issues? Yes. Is there something that needs to happen in terms of parenting? Yes. In terms of education? Yes. In terms of economics? Yes. And again, Mr. Snipes said it very well. Hopefully we have people in Harrisburg and Washington, other state capitals around the country that have the courage to realize this and start thinking about their roles, not looking at the next election, but look at the next generation. Because we're quickly approaching, I fear, a time when the next generation is just going to be, a shell of what we would hope it would be. So we have to do something. And I think the president said it very eloquently in talking with a coworker who is not a fan of the president, but who was very moved by the president's speech at the prayer service. I believe it was Sunday night, and said he was, he echoed the statements that the president made that, we are not doing right by our children, and if we don't do right by our children, nothing else we do is going to be right, and nothing matters. So not fiscal cliff issues, not, anything else. So we have to do this right, and this, unfortunately, let's hope that these 27 people who died, the 20 children, the 6 teachers, and let's hope that these people died for something. The sin that's already attached to this horrible situation would be magnified if nothing comes out of this. So hopefully we can do something, and it's our job as elected officials to push the people above us. It's our job as citizens to push the people that we've elected to do something. So we can't stop. And again, it would be wonderful. All of us wish that we could just end the meeting and say Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and let's have a great year, next year. But unfortunately, this is an issue we have to deal with. I will obviously end, still with saying Merry Christmas, and thoughts and prayers, as Mr. Rocco said, go out to the families that will be, having a very difficult Christmas in Newtown, Connecticut. Unimaginable. Quite frankly, and I try not to imagine it because it's just too sickening for me. to think about. But let's hope that we get some courage in the new year. Let's hope that we can deal with these issues in the new year. I wish everybody a happy new year. Thank board members for their work this year, staff members for their work this year, professionals and administrators here at this township who do an excellent job and have dealt with a lot of difficult issues this year themselves. So wish everybody a great holiday season. And our next meeting will be January 7th, which is our reorganization meeting. Usually a shorter meeting. It's a Monday. So look to see everybody there. And with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.